Picture a lion steak on a restaurant menu. Sounds strange, right? Now picture a wolf burger or a shark fillet, grilled to perfection. It feels wrong before you even ask why. Meanwhile, cows fill dinner tables in every country on Earth. So do chickens. So do pigs. So do goats. Billions of them, every single year. So why did humans build entire industries around plant-eating animals and almost completely avoid the meat eaters? By the end of this video, you'll understand the real reason. And it's not just about taste. Stay till the end. The last part will completely change how you think about your dinner plate. Let's start with the obvious question. A wolf and a cow are both just meat, muscle, fat, protein. So why does one show up everywhere and the other almost never does? The answer starts with something surprisingly mathematical. In 1942, a scientist discovered something called the 10% rule. Every time energy moves up a food chain, 90% of it disappears, burned as heat, spent on movement, wasted just staying alive. Only 10% survives to feed the next level, so a field of grass might feed a group of deer. But that same deer population can only support a tiny fraction as much wolf. To produce 1 pound of predator meat, you need 10 pounds of prey underneath it, and that prey needed 100 pounds of plants beneath that. Predator meat is, by nature's own math, the most expensive meat on the planet to produce. Farming lions for food would mean farming animals that eat other farmed animals. No civilization in history has ever had that kind of surplus energy to waste. Raising one cow already takes years of grain and grazing land. Raising a predator big enough to eat would mean losing 10 times that much prey just to keep one carnivore alive. The energy simply isn't there to spend. But cost isn't the only problem. Something dangerous quietly builds up inside predator meat. It's called biomagnification. Toxins like mercury don't disappear as they move up a food chain. They concentrate. A small fish absorbs a tiny bit of toxin. A bigger fish eats hundreds of those small fish and absorbs it all. A shark eats hundreds of those bigger fish and absorbs even more. By the time you reach the top predator, you're eating an animal that spent its whole life collecting everyone else's poison. That's exactly why pregnant women today are warned to avoid shark and swordfish. Not because those fish are unhealthy on their own, but because they sit at the very top of a chain quietly collecting toxins for years. The same pattern nearly wiped out bald eagles in the 20th century. A chemical called DDT washed into rivers, got absorbed by algae, concentrated in fish, then concentrated again inside the eagles that ate those fish. By the 1960s, eagle eggs were collapsing under their own mother's weight. Fewer than 1,000 nesting pairs were left in the entire United States. And this problem isn't new. Arctic sled dogs have known for generations never to touch polar bear liver. In 1911, an Antarctic expedition team didn't know that. Out of desperation, they ate husky liver instead. The result was violent headaches, peeling skin, organ failure. The cause was vitamin A poisoning. Predator liver stores so much vitamin A that a single meal can be lethal to a human. Indigenous Arctic communities had known to avoid it for centuries. Science simply caught up to why. There's also the taste. Prey animals mostly graze quietly. Predators sprint, stalk, and fight for every single meal. That constant stress floods their muscles with cortisol and adrenaline. It drains the natural tenderness right out of the meat. The result is tougher, gamier, often strangely musky from testosterone-related compounds in the tissue. Hunters who've tasted mountain lion or wolf describe it the same way. Edible in a survival situation, never something you'd choose. There's a disease risk too. Predators eat the sick, the old, and the weakest members of a population, which means they're also eating whatever parasites those animals were carrying. Trichinellosis, a dangerous parasitic infection, spreads specifically through predator and scavenger meat. Wildlife biologists have long flagged carnivore meat as carrying a far higher parasite load than herbivore meat. A predator isn't just eating flesh, it's eating everything that was already wrong with its prey. And when people did eat predator meat, it usually happened during extreme famine, when every safer, cheaper plant-eating option had already run out. That's not an exception to the rule, that's the rule proving itself. Predator meat has always been the last resort, never the first choice. Even today, one of the only real attempts to farm a predator exists in South Africa. But it isn't for meat at all. It exists almost entirely to sell lion bones into traditional medicine markets overseas. Conservation groups have condemned the practice for years. The fact that it's rare, controversial, and aimed at bones instead of meat only proves how firmly the rest of the world avoided this path. Religion locked this pattern in even further. Ancient texts forbid eating birds of prey and clawed carnivores by name. Islamic dietary law draws the exact same boundary, prohibiting animals that hunt with fangs or talons. Civilizations on opposite sides of the world, with zero contact with each other, landed on the exact same rule. From ancient Israel to the Arabian Peninsula to indigenous hunting traditions across North America. Eat the grazer, spare the hunter. Some experts believe this wasn't only about safety. Predators were feared, respected, sometimes even worshipped. You don't eat the animal your temple statues are shaped like. You don't eat the creature sitting on your chief's headdress. Across dozens of unrelated civilizations, the lion, the eagle, the wolf, and the bear became symbols of power, kingship, and divinity. It's hard to serve dinner out of a god. So the real answer isn't just one thing. It's biology stacking on top of chemistry, stacking on top of culture, all pointing the exact same direction. Predator meat costs too much energy to produce. It carries too much accumulated poison. It tastes worse and breaks down worse in the body. It carries more disease. And for thousands of years, humans turned the animals at the top of the food chain into symbols instead of meals. Here's the powerful part. Every ecosystem on Earth runs on the exact same quiet arithmetic. Energy shrinks with every single step it climbs. Humans didn't invent this rule. We simply noticed it over and over in every corner of the world and built our plates around it without even realizing why. So the next time you sit down for dinner, remember this. The wolf was never on the menu. The math decided that long before we ever did.